Why does a single move change everything? In this game between Edward Lasker and Geza Maroczy, we will see how a seemingly simple pawn structure turns into a minefield. Lasker makes a move that experts of the time criticized, and Maroczy replies with a decision that modern engines call a blunder. This is a perfect lesson on how even elite grandmasters can lose the thread of the game when the price of a mistake at such a tournament is a place on the podium. d4. Knight f6. Knight f3. g6. Knight c3. On the third move, white played knight c3, which blocks their own c-pawn and hinders maneuverability. Kotov notes that the move bishop f4 would have been a more flexible decision. Bishop g7. Black fianchettos the bishop to prepare a flank attack on the center. Regarding d5, it completely clashes with the flank development of the king's bishop. e4. d6. h3. The usefulness of this move is questionable, as there was no real need to prevent the bishop's sortie to g4. It probably would have been more appropriate to play bishop f5 immediately, followed by queen d1, d2. Castles kingside. Bishop f4. Knight bd7. Queen d2. If e5, then knight e8, threatening the move c7, c5, which is to black's advantage. c5. In such positions, this advance is strategically correct, as it amplifies the power of the fianchettoed bishop. d5. a6. Here, the most consistent continuation was rook e8 in order to be able to answer bishop h6 by retreating the bishop to h8, and additionally to prepare a possible e7, e6. Bishop h6. White immediately takes the opportunity to somewhat ease their game with an exchange. b5. Bishop takes g7. King takes g7. Queen e3. It is understandable that the e-pawn needed protection. Queen a5. This sortie could only be approved if black had undertaken it as preparation for action in the center. Otherwise, the immediate e6 deserved serious attention. Knight d2. e5. The move is recognized as a serious strategic mistake, as it closes the position and deprives the black knight of the e5 square. It was natural to play e6 to open new lines for the black pieces, for example, d takes e6, f takes e6, knight b3, queen c7 and d6, d5 with an advantage for black. After the move in the game, which closes the position, white gains the necessary time to first complete their development and then seize the initiative with the f2, f4 counterthrust. Bishop e2. h6. This move, as well as the next one, clearly proves that black got confused. Castles kingside. Queen d8. a4. White's thrust launches a powerful offensive on the queenside. b4. Knight cb1. a5. Knight c4. Knight b6. Knight takes b6. Queen takes b6. f4. White made good use of their opponent's mistake on move 12 and should have gained an advantage now, if only they had timely considered a subtle point in black's defense when making their next move. E takes f4. Rook takes f4. White commits an inaccuracy by capturing the pawn with the rook. Capturing with the queen would have secured them a stable advantage. It was correct to play. Queen takes f4, and if queen d8, then knight d2, queen e7, bishop b5 followed by rook a1, 1 and knight d2, c4. The difference between this continuation and the one in the game will now become clear. Queen d8, knight d2, queen e7 threatening knight d5 and thereby preventing the move bishop b5 followed by knight d2, c4. Knight c4, bishop a6, knight b6. The interesting maneuver initiated by this move was bound to lead to the loss of a pawn. But even after, for example, rook e1, black would obtain an excellent game by exchanging on c4, followed by transferring the knight to e5. Rook ab8, rook af1, knight h5. Black finds the strong reply knight h5, moving out of the attack and hitting the rook. This maneuver creates the illusion of winning an exchange, but white finds a clever resource. Rook 4 f3. Bishop takes e2. Queen takes e2. Rook takes b6. g4. White wins back the piece, but at the same time black can acquire a pawn in a very simple way. Therefore, it was hard to expect that white would be able to escape this situation safely. Rook bb8. White's reply, however, shows that black should have acted more energetically if they wanted to gain a material advantage. The most suitable continuation for this was queen e5, for example. G takes h5. Queen takes h5. Queen f2. f5. Instead of aggressively fighting for a material advantage, for example, via queen g5, black plays f5, which surprisingly leads the game to a draw. G takes h5. F takes e4. Rook takes f8. Rook takes f8. Queen takes f8 check. Queen takes f8. Rook takes f8. King takes f8. King f2. King g7. King e3. g5. King takes e4. King f6. b3. In the pawn endgame, black has an extra pawn, but white saves the game with the only correct move, b3, which deprives the black king of invasion squares. King e7. King d3. King f6. King e4. White is forced to repeat moves. Since King c4 loses. King e5. King b5. King takes d5. King takes a5. King c6. King a6. d5. a5. c4. King e7. King d3. King f6. King e4. King e7. King d3. Ultimately, the position is repeated 3 times, and a draw is agreed upon.